This video is going to be way different than any that I posted on here before. As I've mentioned before, I've been in Toastmasters, which is where you practice communication and leadership skills. I was first in Toastmasters clear back in 1990, in the early 90s. And we've been downsizing. We had some repair work done to our house, and so we had to move everything, put things in boxes. So I had a box, several boxes full of things papers and what have you, that I've collected over the years. I ran across, I think it must be a speech I gave, because it's a story all printed out. A little bit of background. This is like 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, I lived down on the Oregon coast, and I taught school like I've done most of my career. But on evenings and weekends, I worked front desk at an RV park. So this paper that I ran across, and I'm sure it must have been for a speech, because why else would I have typed this out? It's called Tourists. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Tourists. People are funny. I mean, they do the strangest things sometimes, especially tourists. I know, I've been one, a tourist that is. A stereotype of a tourist pictures a middle-aged man wearing plaid shorts and a shirt that doesn't match. And if you want to check out the accuracy of that picture, just come on over to the RV resort where I used to work sometimes, and sit in our lobby and observe the people. Picture this. It's a hot summer day in the valley, and that's what the people on the coast call anything on the east side of the coastal range. And the tourists that come from there, they dress for comfort there in the valley, not here along the coast. It might be 90 degrees over there, but here it's only 55 degrees, and it's foggy and rainy and cold. So up drives this big motorhome, and out bops this man in his shorts and tank top, raring to go. Funny thing is, they don't want to admit that they dressed wrong, so they ignore the wet and the cold. You'd think it was 90 degrees out. Well, now men are supposed to be more aggressive and the decision makers. Yeah, I know, that's a sexist remark. So in comes this little old man to the reservation desk, and you explain to him about all the RV sites and the prices and such. Well, he doesn't know what he wants. So he says he has to, quote, go get the boss, unquote. So his wife comes in, and I have to re-explain all of it to her all over again. Then she tells him she doesn't care, and for him to pick whatever he wants. So then he does. And she doesn't like what he picked and suggests something else. And so it goes. Then there's this almost senior citizen lady. Well, there's several of them. You'd think that they just came from witches' school. They bop into the RV office, daren't crack a smile. Oh no. And want an ocean view site at roadside price. They look at your site map and decide on a specific site, and of course they manage to pick out one that somebody else is already occupying. So the lady rants and raves about that, explaining that if she has to pay all this money, she should be able to get the site that she wants. Then she complains because you allow children in the park, and heaven forbid that the people in the site next to her have a dog. Well, she has one too, but her dog is different. We can charge other people for their dog, but not hers. Hers is just a small dog, a puppy. And he never barks or poops. No doubt he looks just like her, too. Well, then there's this little old man who would have to turn up their hearing, little old men who would have to turn up their hearing aids to tell you what they're saying. And then they don't seem to understand what you've said after you've said it. And you really wonder how they managed to drive there, because they don't really look like they were remaining capable of being alert enough to drive from their house to the grocery store, let alone several hundred miles to be on vacation. Then there's the younger, approaching middle-aged couples who come in all googly-eyed over each other, and they can't keep their hands to themselves. And you wonder if they're really married, or if, well, they are registered as Mr. and Mrs., or if something hanky-panky's going on. Then you get your very young man trying to impress his family by bringing them to this fancy RV resort. But he can only afford a roadside site, and the little camper that he comes in looks so out of place next to the fancy $500,000 motorhome that's sitting next to him. Then there's the older middle-aged men who think they're God's gift to women. And they have to call you honey. And then there's that very young couple who sleeps in their van with their families in tent trailers, 5 kids, and you wonder how they could possibly be enjoying their vacation. Well, all in all the very pleasant people not only outnumber the weird ones, but they make up for the weird and strange ones. There's just lots of money to be made in a community that caters to tourists. One just has to be willing to make them all think that they're just perfect. We can't please them all. For one guy's compliment is another guy's complaint. But we can try. And just remember, when you're traveling, if the RV in front of you on the highway doesn't seem to know where he's going or is too slow in getting there, remember, if it wasn't for the tourists, our economy would be between a rock and a hard place. So count to 10 slowly and be thankful. Maybe someday, somewhere, somehow, you'll be a tourist too. Well, that was my speech. And I know not about gardening or cooking. It was about tourists. But it just struck me funny when I ran across it and read it, and it brought back all kinds of memories. And I just had to share. So I hope that you're having a good evening, and that when you're downsizing your house and run across interesting things that remind you some event in the past, feel free to share, because we all like those moments that are special in our lives. So until next time, may the good Lord richly bless you. Don't forget to hit that like button as you go out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification button so that you'll know when I post another video. And we'll see you on the next video.